There, that's as good as any. That's as good as any. Jesse pointed to the steeple below. Lights are on, appears to be plenty of folks around. Isabel bit her lip. She already vetoed the previous 2 churches they'd flown over. She shook her head and hugged Lacey. What? Why not? I don't know that church. They're Methodists, Isabel. Oh, they're Methodists, Isabel. She wrinkled her nose. What, you don't like Methodists now? First Pentecostal, now Methodist? Whoever heard of anyone having a problem with Methodists? Isabel, I think you're just looking for an excuse. Now you gotta think about Lacey. Isabel frowned. Okay, she said, in a little more than a whisper. What? Jessie asked. Did you say okay? Okay for the church? She nodded, her lips tight and drawn. Okay, Jessie said to Krampus. We can take her there. Krampus landed them in a small field behind the church. A line of hedges afforded a reasonable amount of cover from the homes just across the street. Krampus didn't seem to care much one way or another, not having spoken a single word since leaving. They stared at the church as though it were a blight upon the land. Jesse helped Lacey down while keeping his eye on Isabel, who continued to scrutinize the church. He knew she was looking for the slightest reason to call the whole thing off. Isabel took Lacey's hand. After a good minute went by without anyone saying a word, without Isabel taking a step forward, Jesse set his hand on Isabel's shoulder and whispered, You're doing the right thing. Isabel nodded. I know. Yet still she stood there. I'd be glad to come with you. No, don't want anyone to see us. Any of us. Would only make things harder on Lacey. She looked down at the little girl. Okay, Lace, let's go find a real nice person for you to stay with a while. Isabel made an obvious effort to sound upbeat, but Jessie could hear the strain in her voice. Okay? Lacey looked scared and unsure, but when Isabel pulled her along, she came readily enough, and the 2 of them headed up the walkway, sticking to the shadows as they made their way toward the front of the church. Jessie could see people through the windows. They appeared to be decorating the chapel in preparations for New Year's Eve. A tall Christmas tree stood in front of one of the windows, its lights blinking. Krampus stared at it, a thunderous scowl upon his face. Vernon slipped through the hedges over to a row of mailboxes. Plastic newspaper bins with the Boone Standard logo hung beneath the boxes. One still held a paper, and Vernon helped himself, opened it, scanning the pages as he walked back over. Oh my, Vernon said. Krampus, you just might wish to read this. Krampus ignored him, just kept staring at the Christmas tree. Vernon cleared his throat, began to read. Santa's henchmen dance across Boone County. Strange reports have come in from all across Boone County of a string of bizarre incidents of home invasions and flying sleighs. The incidents are connected by descriptions of oddly dressed individuals that appear to have horns and glowing eyes. Some claim they're Christmas demons. Others blame the trouble on a crime spree perpetrated by a gang disguised in bizarre costumes. Sheriff Wright would only say that they are investigating. Sources close to the sheriff confirm that gang activity is at the forefront of an ongoing investigation. Several victims have come forward and given their harrowing accounts of assault, vandalism, and intimidation. Vernon skipped down a few lines, but no one has yet been able to explain the dozens of reports coming in of a flying sleigh pulled by goats, which reportedly is carrying this host of most curious criminals. Chet chuckled and shook his head. Wait, Vernon continued, there's also this. Standard's own Bill Harris received a very different accounting from Carolyn, age 10, of Good Hope, and her 5 brothers and sisters. Carolyn recounts a tale of a tall, horned beast that claims the title Krampus, Lord of Yule, and leaves behind coins to those who honor him with a tribute in the form of a treat or a trinket left in their shoes upon the front step. Further, she added, those who don't offer tribute risk the Krampus demon putting them in a sack and whipping them. Upon follow-up with children of other victims in the area, all collaborated the same very strange tale. Further credibility is given due to the fact that each of the children had in their possession these same triangular gold coins. When asked if they intended to put treats and trinkets in their shoes and leave them on their steps next holiday season, they all adamantly stated they certainly would. Vernon showed them the picture. One, a clear snapshot of Carolyn and her siblings, each holding a triangular coin. Another, this one a bit blurry, of Krampus and the Belsnickels flying down the street in a sleigh. And a final one, a cartoon of a gleeful, black-faced devil with horns, hooves, and a twisting tail, wielding a handful of switches. Vernon read the caption, "Hoax, or has the Christmas demon come to town?" Vernon put on his own devilish smile and showed the picture to Krampus. "Why, old boy, they've certainly captured your likeness. Spot on, wouldn't you say?" Krampus tore the paper from Vernon's hands, crumpled it, slapped it on the ground, and stomped on it. Practically did a dance on it. "Christmas demon," Krampus growled. "Santa's henchman? No, no." He glared up at the church. "They see devils everywhere when the only devils left are themselves. Why must they twist Yule tradition into something wicked? Why must they pervert all that is mine? Like that tree. That is a Yule tree, not a Christmas tree, bringing evergreens into the home to celebrate the goddess that never dies. The return of sun's warmth is a tradition dating back before the ancient Druids, and long, long, long before the Christ child was spewed forth in that filthy little manger. Who are they to plunder my traditions, to desecrate and profane? It is time I showed them the Yule Lord will not stand for such mockery." Krampus spat loudly on the newspaper and stomped away toward the church. Jessie and Vernon exchanged a panicked look. "Wait," Jessie said, catching up and grabbing Krampus's arm. "Isabel asked us to stay back." Krampus shrugged them off and continued up the path, heading for the front steps. The Shawnee fell in step behind him. "Way to go," Jessie said to Vernon. "We gave him a shove." Vernon threw up his hands. "What?" Chet laughed and fell in. "Never much cared for the Methodist know-how.